Why am I showing up here today? I really want to talk about why getting what you want still leaves you feeling empty. You may be asking that you're doing all the things, showing for every person in your life, giving, 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 but still feel depleted and emotionally disconnected. Today, I'm going to focus into why that is happening and how to overcome that. I'm ready to dive into today's topic about the paradox of getting your needs met while abandoning yourself. And this is something that I really feel very passionate about sharing with you today, where there is this idea and this belief that the more that you give, the more that you put out there, the more that you're going to get back in return. But I think that what we're really forgetting is that this leaves us feeling depleted. But what's the real idea behind this? And it is that a lot of us grew up believing that love meant sacrifice. And yes, there are some moments in our life where sacrifices are needed and we show up for the people that we love. But when this becomes our way of operating in the world, it can really leave us feeling disconnected, and it can really then start shifting our sense of worth from an internal perspective to an external one. Because then that means that our worth, it's only dependent on the external actions and behaviors of what we do. Then during that moment is where our identity then becomes what we do, and that increases our sense of belonging, and our identity becomes more palatable to ourselves and to others, because we don't really have to deal with this phase of the discomfort or of questioning and thinking about ourselves in a way that really brings about a personal responsibility. So, what does that mean then? If you are someone who is engaging in people pleasing behaviors, who is constantly giving to their friends, partners, jobs, and others in general, and continue to feel empty, this is a very clear sign that you are overgiving and not paying attention to your internal needs. That's why the paradox is, oh, I'm giving and I feel connected, but at the same time, I am abandoning myself. When you abandon yourself, what happens is that you start increasing self-doubt and you start increasing resentment. And this resentment starts to build up because in the abandonment of your own needs to please others, you're starting to notice that you are no longer feeling seen, you are not feeling heard, and that there are parts of you that still feel drained, even though you're feeling connected to others. This is really where we start feeling selfish. And that is because when we have been used to giving to others, selfishness is used then as an excuse to say, oh no, I don't want to be a selfish person. Because if I start taking care of my needs, that means that I am no longer going to be there for others, or I'm not going to be present for others. So we start using selfishness as a weapon that is actually hiding the biggest desire that you have, which is to care for yourself. And this is where the paradox then really lies, because at the end, everything that you're really afraid of doing and what you're afraid of prioritizing, which is your needs and caring for yourself, it is exactly the pathway in how you go about breaking this cycle and about breaking this paradox. So I really do encourage you, if this is something that you're struggling with, if you're struggling with people pleasing behaviors and you're in a space of overgiving, to really stay tuned to the end so you can really learn how to still honor yourself while also honoring the people you love and your relationships without really feeling disconnected. And this really leads us into our first point of why does this happen? And that is the need for connection. The need for connection is a very natural human desire and experience where we want to feel loved, we want to feel cared for, and we really want to feel that we belong as part of a group. And the thing about this is that we've been taught that our needs are always met outside of us. And that starts creating that shift from like the internal to the external. And when we emphasize this external perspective of getting our needs met outside, we have this false promise where we're constantly seeking for external validation. And then that's what now then creates that internal emptiness. And this goes then into what some people are going to call the codependent belief system, because it is the illusion of the sacrifice where if I give enough, the person will stay. If I give enough, the person will love me. If I give enough, then I won't need to feel those feelings of like emptiness and disconnection. But in reality, that's actually what's fueling those feelings as well. This need for connection becomes then the strategy where abandoning yourself is really then a temporary relief that it's based on external validation or attention, and it ultimately fails to satisfy your core needs, clearly leading a lot of people to resentment, to a low self of worth, and unfulfilling relationships. Why does it impact relationships as well? And this is because we're placing a very high demand on the relationship to fill up the needs of an individual. And there's no relationship, there's no single person that could do that for you, that can do that for anyone. But it is hard sometimes to really grasp that because when you tied in together worth and security, and you're under the illusion that those two things are being fulfilled through the disconnection of the self and through the overgiving and the people pleasing, then it becomes very hard to go into a place of autonomy and independence. And that is why the other thing that then comes up is the fear of responsibility. And the fear of responsibility comes in because through those actions, what you have been teaching yourself, what you have been teaching your body, what you have been teaching your brain is I cannot make myself happy. I cannot really fulfill my needs because if I do that, that is incongruent with what I've been doing so far. And not only that, when we add the social expectations, then what that does is it then also creates more shame and more guilt. So adding that, the social script, and now thinking about the part of like even starting to tap into some shape or form into an independence of tackling your own needs, it just becomes like a very paralyzing space where we prefer to actually stay into whatever we're doing before than to move into a new state. So for women, this fear really, really runs deep because they think that the moment they start taking care of themselves, they will be disconnected from others. They think that the moment they start taking time and prioritizing their own needs, they will no longer be in connection with the people that they love. And we were wired for connection. And now what's happening is how do we step into a different rewiring and understanding of what this really means? Because what your body, your soul, and your spirit is really craving is to enter into a place of self care and to enter into a place of self responsibility. Because at the end, when you step into responsibility, it's not a trap. It is not disconnection. It is actually freedom. And this is here when we listen to like the cliches of like fill your cup first and then others. We can repeat that until we're blue in the face. But what we really have to understand is where is it coming from? Why is it so hard to really do? And it is because we are scared of feeling disconnected from the people that we love, feeling alone, and sometimes feeling that emptiness. So, what do we need to do? The first thing is to start understanding that needs are not selfish and that needs are meant for your well being. Because we usually and typically talk about needs as just very basic ones. And what we hear nowadays is really just like, oh, I need to work out, I need to go on a walk, or like take care of my physical body. But your physical body is not the only need that you have, right? We have emotional needs, we have spiritual needs, we have creative needs, intellectual, right? So we really have a diversity spectrum of needs that the redundance of it all is that need to be addressed in order to for us to feel whole. And that wholeness then starts being um built up from the inside out and not from the outside in, which is what got us into this loop. So, if you take time to really think and reflect on what are those needs that deserve attention today, it can very well mean that you need some space to really reconnect with yourself. It could be space that you are really going to need to um, connect back to past hobbies or past experiences that really made you feel fulfilled. And it is within that fulfillment and within that joy that then we're going to be energized, that then we're going to be transformed, and we're going to then be able to support others. I really want us to reflect on what needs mean to you. And if the fear shows up, the fear of disconnection, the fear of not being loved, the fear of losing that connection to the people that you care about the most, I want you to remember this, that when we make love conditional on the performance and on belonging and dependent on approval, we're giving away our sovereignty. And our sovereignty is the capacity to act and be and to really lead the fulfilling lives that we want. I want to read this little reflection for you to take away today. And that is really about your needs are not weaknesses. They're signals, they're living messages from your body and from your heart, guiding you back toward alignment. This is how your nervous system speaks to you. It can say, I'm ready for rest. I want to feel safe here. I need honesty. I long to be met where I am. They're not demands, they are directions. So for today, I really just want you to think about where are your needs directing you and how can you today take one step forward into really caring for yourself and building that self-trust. See you on the next episode.